Hello and welcome to another episode of the ENT Youth Services Podcast. ENT Youth Services strives to empower, nurture, and transform opportunity youth to become individuals with essential life skills that are necessary to make a valuable contribution in their communities. Stay connected with ENT via your favorite social media apps and help us get the word out by giving us a 5-star rating. Today, the ENT Parent Partners are once again tackling the serious topic of human trafficking with part 2 of this discussion. We are again joined by Dr. Shana Gage, a board-certified pediatric psychiatrist who is guiding our parents through this discussion and answering questions from the larger Washington, D.C. community on how to navigate this troubling reality. Stay connected with ENT via your favorite social media apps and help us get the word out by giving us a 5-star rating. Okay, let's get to today's episode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the ENT Youth Services Podcast. My name is Kyler Wiltz, the host. Glad to be back. I had work last Sunday, but, it's all good to be back with the family. We have some amazing guests back with us this week, and, time to kind of continue our previous conversation. Our guests, would you guys like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hello, this is Jennifer, having the lead of the Parent Podcast. And I just want to say our last podcast, we touched on the topic of sex trafficking. And we had our guest speaker, Dr. Gage, who was able to give us an expert knowledge on this topic. We will be continuing our discussion today with our parents, and Dr. Gage has graciously agreed to join us again. So the rest of the family, can we introduce ourselves and thank Dr. Gage for coming on again to assist us with this podcast.
Hi, I'm Ivelisa de la Cruz.
Hello, I'm Tina, and thank you very much, Dr. Gage, for attending again.
Thank you all for having me again. It's my pleasure to be here.
Dr. Forrest, would you like to tap in and say a few words?
Well, I'm trying to be silent on these podcasts and only as needed, but I'm really excited to be here. We have a lot of amazing moderators. Kyla is our lead moderator, so we're always happy to have him, but we are also thankful for all our other amazing moderators. I'm really excited about tonight. Dr. Gage, I'm a big fan. I've known Dr. Gage since she was a baby, child, and adolescent medical student, and now that she's a phenomenal psychiatrist, a leader in our community, in our Black and Brown community. I'm really excited. All the parents on, I know you guys in some form or fashion, and I'm really amazingly happy that Jennifer has decided to be the lead for this parent podcast that's very needed right now in our difficult trying times. So I'm excited. Nicholas, thank you for everything. A lot of our members are either traveling or doing stuff for the holidays. So we just do the best we can, but we have a great team here today. So Kyla, it's all you now.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for the kind words. It's a blessing to be back. We always have some amazing dialogue. And again, just to continue to push forward the movement and really be able to help our young people through, all these different situations. So, as mentioned, the previous episode was based on trafficking. And I really wish that I could have, been there for the first one, because it's a really, really broad topic. There's a lot going on with that nowadays, really targeting our young people, and more specifically our Black and Brown young women. And at the end of the day, we have to protect our children. That's the mission of ENT Youth Services, and that is why this podcast got started. So would some of the parents that were on, and even Dr. Gage on the previous episode, like to kind of continue moving on with the conversation, and kind of give me a little bit of background information of the discussion that occurred. And then we're also going to tap into some of the questions that we've had, that other parents also sent for us to discuss, and different approaches to essentially assist in helping steer our young people the correct way in a world that is literally targeting them in a bunch of different ways, and really kind of fogging their minds to certain decisions.
Well, I think what might be helpful is just to kind of have like an overview of what we did talk about last week. And I think one of the things I tried to focus on was like breaking down that there are different types of trafficking, and there were four major types, if you all remember. We have the family controlled, where someone is basically sold by their family. It may be a parent, an uncle, someone who is looking for money either for, obviously a extreme need, drugs or medical costs or something like that. It's really hard to help those victims because, of course, in many cases, they have an allegiance to their parents and may not necessarily look for help because if they have a parent doing that to them, who would they end up being with? Let's say their parent is arrested or something like that. They may not have a home. And obviously, that one worst type of betrayal that anyone could imagine is someone in your own family who'd be willing to offer you up to someone for money. We talked about survival sex, so not necessarily any sort of pimp or family member involved. This is someone who is using sex to get their needs met. So they may be someone who needs to offer sex to pay their rent, to buy clothes, to take care of themselves. And the trafficker in that case is the person who would actually purchase from them. So, say a young lady solicits, someone online and they offer to pay her for sex. She, in some ways, is kind of her own pimp. She's in control, and some would prefer that because they get to decide who they want to be with, how they want to do it. And, they kind of set it up on their own, but it is still a form of trafficking. Someone is purchasing from sex from someone, and that is illegal. Then we have gang controlled. In our area, a lot of Latino populations, but also we know that's always been a part of Black gang culture. And so you have had over years gangs being able to profit not just from drugs or guns, but now from the sale of women. And, unlike a drug sale or a gun sale where it's one for one, one girl, you can get multiple sales. And in those cases, some things you would look for are young women who may just be migrating to the US and are kind of seeking out a sense of family. They end up kind of in the holds of a gang who offer to give them the world. They may end up with tattoos and different gang symbols and things like that to brand them. But they also are offered, again, family. And so for them, they believe they're doing this with, an allegiance and loyalty to their family, so to speak. And so, again, a little bit harder to draw them out. The last one would be the classic form of trafficking, where we kind of know of a pimp who takes money from male or female who are going out and getting customers, having sex, and then taking that money back to the pimp. That typically, in many cases, involves first having some sort of relationship, promising this person the world, getting them to kind of emotionally submit to you, fall in love with you, and then over time, you want so much to please them that they start to offer you up to other people, telling you that this is how, you guys are going to make your dreams come true. They make you feel valued, they make you feel loved, and then after a time, it becomes almost a trap. You feel like you can't get out, you're afraid to get out, and in many cases, this person may start to become physically aggressive, violent towards you, threatening you, and you're afraid to leave because they may threaten you, threaten your family. And so a lot of times there's fear of walking away because you don't want to be hurt or want your loved ones to be hurt. Another thing that we talked about was really just how many people are subject to this. I mean, we assume that, it only happens in certain places with certain people, but because of social media, pretty much anyone you can think of, any teenager, even any grown person, is subject to being solicited. Some of the hallmark signs of what you might look for in terms of those who are at risk are runaways, those who, have had some sort of history of abuse, those who have very low self-esteem, um, those who are unsupervised, right? Have a lot of time. Either mom and dad are constantly working and there's no one to supervise their behavior. Those who are homeless, those who have a history of mental illness, dealing with learning disabilities, family dysfunctions, just lack of social support, and kind of under recognized are young men who are actually, um, you know, become victims pretty often, and many times is young men within the LGBTQ community. And again, that is a population that's really like overlooked, but a lot of young men are, um, parents do not accept their lifestyle or the things they choose to do. They're thrown out of their homes, and in many cases, they become victims of trafficking. I think that's a kind of a good starting point of some of the things that we went over. Um, and I guess I'll stop there, see if anyone has questions.
So thank you very much for that, Dr. Gage. That was a great synopsis. I mean, I didn't honestly even know that there was kind of like a separation within the different types of sex trafficking. Also, the different elements that kind of go into influencing, um, you know, those outcomes, right? There was a question, essentially, and it was tied that was tied to one of the types of sex trafficking that you mentioned. And the question specifically was, how do you deal with an 18-year-old who, for lack of a better term, thinks that she has grown too mature and doesn't want to listen to her parents, and she essentially starts pursuing dancing. I'm assuming that based off the context of the question and also our podcast, exotic dancing. So this is more of like a question for the parents. I would definitely say that from my perspective. Oh wow, I don't have children myself. I will say that there is just a budding culture nowadays of that type of influence being presented to our young people, and especially our young girls. That just kind of makes it more of a common ground, or a common theme, and for them to really just uh kind of go down that path, and kind of influencing them even more to kind of serve as like a focal occupation, or something that you should do, or you should consider. So what do this is definitely a question for parents to kind of tap in and have a conversation on.
It's just interesting because shortly after our podcast on sex trafficking, there was, all of us know there was high profile individuals in the news in regards to a gentleman being with a teen, and allegations of sex trafficking and things like that. And for me as a parent, yes, as 18, yes, you are typically grown per legal standards, but you are still a child and you're still trying to develop your ways and learn things. And I think as a parent, we still want to protect our children because, of course, yes, they think they know everything, but we've been through some things and we've learned some things in life. So we still try to protect our children, still try to lead them down the good path, whatever that means for each individual. And I think staying engaged and involved is the best way that we can do it. Sometimes when you go against what they are pursuing, it kind of allows them to want to do it even more. And in some aspects, you have to give them that gap to kind of learn for themselves and kind of like fall on their face. But again, as a parent, you don't even want that to happen. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, how do I protect my child, but also allow them to learn in their own way the things that can be harmful to them without, being overprotective.
So I think in that arena, we're gonna have a lot of problems with our young women, and the reason is everywhere they look, right, from videos, TV, YouTube, really just anywhere. This concept of dancing is just everywhere, right? People do it online, they do it on TikTok, they do it on Instagram. And I think most young girls, the message that they would get is like, if I'm doing this anyway, whether it's for fun or with my friends, why not make some money if it can make me some money? And we have images of mostly Black and brown young women whose bodies are on display for the world to see. And in many cases, they are sex symbols. And I think for some, again, if you're dealing with someone who has a low self-esteem, doesn't really have much, or they don't think they have much to fall back on, there's been no one else to build them up in their life, that their body and what they have is like what they look like physically is not all they have to offer the world, then this becomes their ticket to success. And very quickly, they will get money in their hands, and they will learn that do certain things, money will come to you quickly. The problem is, again, this is also one of those avenues to where trafficking starts to happen. You start off with dancing, and then you're offered money to do more. And then the people who you are around kind of encourage this behavior, and they make it normalized that, hey, we all do this. Like, what's the big deal? And, people will say things to you that really, for someone who doesn't know better, makes sense. Like, I mean, you would have sex with somebody for nothing, and this person might still mistreat you. Might as well get paid doing it, right? And if you don't really have, again, a solid foundation and people in your life who have uplifted you and taught you better about yourself, you could easily fall for those type of lines. That life offers quick money, and it offers glamour, and it offers, just fast life, all the things that people see on Instagram every day, and it looks very appealing until, again, you're in a room with someone who you do not want to be around, and they're basically forcing you to do something you don't want to do. So I think it's always going to start at home, right? If you've taught your kids that they're more than what they look like, what their body looks like, they'll hopefully know that they have other options to be successful and go in that route.
And this is crazy because we actually had a conversation on like in one of the earlier episodes. We like to call it season 1 because that's how far back it was, where we were talking about essentially the influence of modern media, and more specifically within music, in how it pertains to our young Black men, right? This conversation and this topic, while it does affect young men, this is definitely probably more of an issue that our young women have to face, right? And again, I would be remiss if I was to sit here and say that I don't listen to some of the music nowadays, because I do. I actually really enjoy some of it. But there's also kind of like that delineation where, I know that that's not real life, right? And on the other end, you have young people who naturally, and that innocence, that impressionability, where they see these things and it's like, oh, like, this is my favorite rapper or my favorite singer, so I have to kind of live by those words so I can be like them. And I think it does kind of tie back to the influence that parents have, but there's also sometimes only so much influence that the parents can have when everything on the outside is essentially saying, no, you need to be doing this, or you see your friends just doing all of these things that you may have been raised to believe isn't true, but if they're making a lot of money off of it, why not do it? So I guess, on our end of things, what are some strategies that we can kind of take to kind of overcome that or offset it? Because we know that it isn't going to stop. Whether it's by design or whether it's just that's what's selling, it's going to continue to be a vice that we're battling against for our young people.
I agree. Well said. I need some intake on how to reverse the situation for my daughter that's now out there that is 18. I feel every day like I'm losing her more and more. I just became aware that she possibly been starting to dance and things for maybe 3 months or so. I thought she was going to work. I don't do social media like that, so I'm not in the loop with everything that's going on with these young teenagers or young ladies and men, because I don't do it that often. But I was informed from one of my family members that she's not going to Amazon to work. She's actually dancing, and it my heart just like stopped, because I tried my best to raise her as the precious princess that she is. And I don't understand how I got to this point. I don't think I will never understand, but I do need help trying to figure out how can I pour her back in, because that is no life for no female. We're better than that. We shouldn't be defined by the things we do because we are beautiful, or use our beauty in such a way. That's how I feel. I would never done that, as I never done that, or would have had thoughts of doing that as a teenager when I was younger. But as you just spoke upon, the peers and everything out there with the social media, it's a given. They get drawn into it. So it becomes a battle of the mind, like the stronger person. And how do you become strong at 18 to that point where you can fight this off? And then, so I feel as though with my daughter that she's longing for that father companion that she didn't have. So, of course, that's going to be another thing that draws her in as far as male figure. So I just thought that I met Dr. Foster through an appointment with me, with my sons. So on the topic, when I seen it last week or a couple weeks ago, I was like, wow, this is very interesting. But of course, during that time, I was not ready to visit the conversation. But thinking about it as weeks went on or days went on, like this could possibly be going in the direction that my daughter is going in. I just need answers. How do I deal with that?
My heart just broke for you. I'll say that. I am a mom of 4 daughters, so um, it is really hard to imagine, like you said, that you raise your daughter a certain way, and she deviates this way. What I wanted to ask is, I know you said a family member told you. Has your daughter talked to you about this at all? Have you actually asked her about it yet?
I didn't really know how to address it. So I just went in with more options, or more concrete things, like possibly I took her to a recruitment center to see if she would be interested in that, and I just gave her other options, such as because she asked to actually have a year off after graduating. So I thought that was, I was happy that she graduated. So I thought that would be only but fair. But when I found out about this, I kind of went on, not to let her know that I actually knew about it, but like maybe we should revisit that year because that year is up, and you should think about going to college, and if not college, going into the service. So I took her in to talk to a recruiter. But then I had mentioned it to someone else in the household, which is my son, which I didn't think that he would. And he said something before I had a chance to say something, which kind of threw me straight off of. I didn't want to push her away. So, and I wanted to be the first one to say something. I just didn't know how to. I just didn't know how to. But I finally did say something, and just told her it's not what I want for her at all. And from my understanding, I think, for a young lady, just being a young lady of that age, that not only that they're doing this, but you can't be in your right state of mind doing that. So I feel like you're also out there involving yourself in drugs. Like I just don't see you just out there just throwing your body up there in a right state of mind. I don't see that as, no. I don't. I just think that's it's other issues going on with that.
So you're right. You're right about that part. I mean, many times dancers are, and those who end up, being trafficked, they are typically given drugs to kind of alter, or they want to take drugs so that they're not mentally present, and really hoping that they don't remember. But what I would say is that really, you sound like the type of mom who, obviously love your daughter, wants to be there for her. Maybe it is okay to just bring it up if she knows that at this point. And obviously, not in a confrontational way, but just how much you believe in her, how much you love her, and just some of the things that you're fearful of. I think Ms. Jennifer kind of touched on it with, you
So the
can't
last
really.
time we had the conversation, it was a calm and metal, and she understands from the mother point of view, is what she says to me. But it's just that I wouldn't understand other than the mother's point of view. She's so after having a conversation, she goes out, and I still don't see her for weeks on end. So I'm like, okay, I don't know where to go from that. I'm still paying her phone bill because I want to hear, or at least when I call her, she don't answer. But I want to at least get that text to say I'm okay, or hi mom, or yes, or something. So I don't know what to do from here because we just moved to PA, and she don't know nobody here. And she say friends. You can't have a friend, and there's no such thing as a friend you meet within 30 or 60 days. And someone that's definitely, and then if they're friends, why can't I meet them? That's a problem for me. I should be able to meet your friends. And I try to get in that way with hoping that she introduced me. I think I'm going every angle that I could possibly go, but I just feel like she's dealing with something mentally for the dad situation, and she's not going to let me in. It's not something that I didn't give her. It's something that she hasn't gotten from the other parent.
Do you think she would be willing, or has she ever asked to like talk to either like a therapist or anything like that?
I didn't have her in therapist for at least about 6, 7 years prior to her becoming 18. So what I've learned about therapy, even with me attending myself, that if you're not wanting to get the help, wanting to help yourself, it's not going to work. Like, you got to put something in. So taking them for therapy for 6 to 7 years, if you're not putting in, you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to participate because nothing's wrong with me. So it's trying to teach them that you're not going to therapy because something's wrong with you. You're going to therapy to help better what to deal with things better. So at certain ages, which is 16, I believe, they have to get they have to sign for certain things in therapy. The parent can no longer push the situation. And I don't know if that made them turn away from therapy. I think she realized she needs the therapy, but I believe her dad and his wife also pushed her into she wanted to stay with them for a year. When she came back with me, and she had this big idea of doing drugs, how it made her feel. She'd been abused by the dad's wife. A case just I think she's kind of hurt by the case. The young lady only got 2 years probation, and that's because of people she knew in the system. It's been so much going on with my kids having to fight these battles, and I think the battles are basically out of hatred for me, because I don't know.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that you're talking about, which we know obviously is risk factors for any young kid, is a history of trauma, right? A history of trauma.
Absolutely.
And I think what may be happening in this particular situation, I don't know your daughter, but a lot of young women, and I've touched on this before, if they've gone through a traumatic situation, sometimes this is their way of feeling empowered. Like, now I get to do this particular thing, but on my terms, and make money. And, in some ways, they think that they're getting back, again, getting back their power and their ability to make decisions. And I really do empathize, because, like you said, at 18, you're not even really in control anymore. And the best thing you can do for her is just to continue to support, continue to reach out, make sure she knows that you're there, how much you know that, she's worth more than what she's offering to the world right now.
Absolutely.
You said something really important, which is about her father, and I'm assuming because of the situation you just discussed, that that's a very tricky and complicated situation. But maybe even if her father, if she's willing, would be able to reach out to her, and if she's seeking
He's not even
that,
willing, so that's the part that I think she's dealing with too.
well, she's just dealing with a lot of hurt right now, and sometimes these are some of the ways that our young people start to feel like, I'm going to take control of my life and do things the way I want. And obviously, they have all the horrible influences out there that allow them to justify their behaviors and rationalize these behaviors. It's a very tough situation.
So silly. So I put it in prayer every day. I do have faith. I knew God is able to change all things that I am not. I believe strongly in the serenity prayer. But as a parent, a mother that did everything that she was supposed to do, is like, I can't say where did I go wrong. I can just only say, what can I do better? You know, I don't know. Like,
So, Miss Tina, there are plenty of families who, as you said, do everything right and something still doesn't go the way they anticipated. So I definitely don't want you to add to your burden by, in any way putting any of this on yourself, or thinking that you have something else that you're not doing. You're doing everything that a loving mom should do. But at 18, it becomes definitely a harder task to bring them to our side. But like you said, you continue to pray for your daughter. Just surround her when she's with you with love, and let her know, like, never stop telling her how much you know she's worth, and that this is not all that she has to offer the world.
right,
And any other adults, I would say, as they always say, it takes a village, right? So any other adults in her life that she may have that you think she respects and would truly, like, at least listen to and to have open conversations with her. I know, a lot of people have either an aunt or a godmother, or just someone in their lives who's been there for them or helped you to support her over the years. If there is anyone else, just trying to surround her with community of people who truly believe in her and want her to be better than what she is doing right now. Sometimes it doesn't always, it's not accepted the same way coming from mom. Like she said, like, you just don't understand her. But if there are other people who can help you, support you in this, I think it's important for you to have that backup as well.
makes sense.
And Miss Tina, I just want to reassure you, as the president and CEO of ENT, and my amazing team and the team of ladies right here and young gentlemen on this podcast, we're going to stand by you and we're going to support you. We completely believe in the village concept that Dr. Gage is speaking about. Your village is here and your village is strong. So not only when we have podcasts, this chat group led by Evan, who will probably say some words in a few minutes. We are here for you. And if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever the day may be, that you want to pray with somebody, that you want to reach out to somebody, that you just want to hear somebody's voice, we are here for you. So you're not alone in this fight. Your daughter is not alone. We're going to do our part, even if it's from afar, to let her know that there's a light, and just hope to God that she does see that light. And we're going to keep that light burning. We're going to keep that light burning strong. And we got some broad shoulders. We might be weary some days, but we got enough. We got enough energy for you. And I want you to know that from today, we will keep you lifted up in our prayers. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so
And
much.
then just one thing that I would like to add as well, for you specifically is, it's okay to also show yourself some grace, right? You're doing an amazing job. You're doing everything that you could possibly be doing, whether it be in an emotional sense, a physical sense, a spiritual sense, which I grew up in the church, so that's very important and probably the most
Yes.
important thing. And you can't beat up yourself too much, because like you said, you've done everything that you possibly can. In times like this, right? Just being there, just continuously being supportive and loving your child. My dad, told me that, as hard as medical school is, the hardest thing that you'll ever do is raise children. Right, because a lot of times it's one of those things that where you put all of your love and everything and you craft them, but sometimes they're gonna hit bumps in the road. Like, they're gonna make decisions that and I'm speaking from myself being the child and making decisions that my parents reprimanded me for, or told me that they didn't agree with. but as you're doing now, you're continuing to love your child and continue to fight for her. And just with that, it's like, show yourself some grace. God knows your heart, and everything will ultimately work out. And like Dr. Forster said, we're all here, right? ENT is more than just an organization, or a community action initiative, or just us as a collective or individuals. It's a family, right? And we're all here to make sure that we help you through these times, and we help anyone, and through love, through prayer, through information, right? Experts such as Dr. Gage, just everyone in general, right? So we're going to continue to be here for you as you continue your fight, and we're going to continue to just keep pushing and keep pushing and being there for you.
I
And that's what
appreciate
this
it.
podcast is for us
Thank
to
y'all
to, to
so
just to
much.
discuss about, and to talk about the issues that are real, right? It's not about speaking about random Twitter topics. No, it's about getting individuals who have real stories about
Hmm.
real issues that we are
Hmm.
seeing, and working to get to the bottom of them, and impact as many lives as we potentially can. So thank you so much for being comfortable enough to speak with us and share, because this was extremely eye-opening.
Yeah.
I have younger sisters as well, and you know my parents had to have conversations with them that they would have never ever thought about having with me in 2014 when I was in high school, because things have changed so much,
Hmm.
and it's real. Like it's real
It's
that
definitely
these
real.
things are impacting our young people every day. So our hearts are definitely with you, and we're going to continue to lift you up in prayer as well, you and your daughter and your whole family.
I appreciate that. Thank y'all so
Yes,
much.
ma'am.
Yes, Miss Tina, this is Jennifer. And, parenting has no handbook. We go off of what we think is right at the moment, at the time, with the circumstances we're given. As a single parent, you're dealt things that you can't always say, did I make the right decision? Did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing?
Hmm.
But with, like you said, prayer, we continue to push forward and do what we have to do. And in this circumstance, you don't really realize how real it is until you know someone who's actually going through it.
Hmm.
So it doesn't become real to you until, we see things on social media, we hear things, we talk about, sex trafficking, but you don't really understand it until it hits home and you
Absolutely.
have to deal with it yourself. And like everyone is saying, we are here every day, all day, any time of the day.
Hmm.
Um, my phone is available, whether you need to call or text. We are here because at the end of the day, all we can do is continue to pray for you, continue to pray for your daughter. And if out of no way, God will make a way. Okay.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
Hi, my name is Diallo Watts, and I am a part of the ENT Youth Partners. I just wanted to insert a short interruption to tell you about our sponsor. Today, our sponsor is you, the listener. Thank you so much for donating to ENT Youth Services on our website. Every dollar goes towards plans to continue our impactful workshops, expand our reach on social media, continue our successful podcast, and so much more. If you would like to sponsor ENT, please email us at contact@entyouth.com. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get back to the episode.
What can I say? I'm just praying. I'll pray a lot for you. I mean, I have an 18-year-old too, and it's scary. You know, I don't know. I'm just gonna pray a lot because it's hard. My heart is terrified for each and every child out there, and I hope God is with her in each step that she takes and everything that she's doing. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so usually, around this time period is where we wrap up the episodes. But one thing that, now from since I missed the first one, but now that I actually got to, really genuinely listen and, get more information that I myself hadn't known before. I would love to speak with Dr. Forrester on the side and some of the other members of ENT to potentially see if that could be an area of events or activism that we can look into, right? Because as much as we're focusing on addressing the violence in our young black men, this is an issue that our young black women and brown women are facing, right? Or I should say our young black and brown young ladies. But regardless, I definitely think that's something that could have immense impact. And the story that we heard today, right, is real, it's raw, and these are the type of things that will ultimately help us push forward to impact and save those lives. So that's definitely something that I'm gonna poke Dr. Forrester about us tapping into, and hopefully we can look into getting that done.
So, Kyla, let me just stop you right there. As usual, you are just such a visionary. The reality is, this is the Parents Podcast, and every 2 weeks, they're going to be like alternating with you on the other topics. So every 2 weeks, there will be a Parent Podcast, and we're going to have one more session to wrap up sex trafficking in 2 weeks, just before the holidays. But I'm allowing them to come up with their own topics, and we will have Dr. Gage continually participating when she can. We will have other different features, but the parent podcasting is not going anywhere. They're going to have a group chat led by Miss Heaven. She has agreed, and she's been a great leader thus far. And they are going to continue chatting with each other, upholding Miss Tina, upholding each other, reaching out to Dr. Gage and all our other team leads and trying to find solutions. But they will be on air every 2 weeks. So you will be getting to know all these ladies, because I think it's very, very important. This was such a testimony today. It's a good thing I'm not being seen on camera, because the tears are just coming down my eyes. But they're tears of love and of hope and of peace and of, like you said, Kyla, of God's grace, because I know God has Miss Tina's daughter in his arms. And I know that this village is deep enough and strong enough to support the Miss Tina in her time of need. Because who knows? I mean, in a couple months, Miss Tina might have to support somebody else on this team. So Miss Tina, we're here for you. We got you. But God got you. And that's what's most important. But no, we're going to be here. We're going to ask you guys to come up with other topics. Like I said, we're going to be wrapping up this session in 2 weeks, where we're going to kind of hope to, just look to you guys to get other questions that you think about in the upcoming few days, and to try to get some resources. I know Dr. Gage, and I know her very well. So I know her wheels are spinning. And if I know Dr. Gage, she's probably trying to find resources and stuff to send to you, Miss Tina. So you're not alone, and you just started. You started a fire. Kyla, like I said, Kyla is an exceptional young man. So I know he too is trying to figure out, Dr. Forrester, what can we do? I know Miss Jennifer, I know Miss Ebe, and a lot of mothers who are not here today for different reasons, who are part of this team. So Miss Tina, you're going to be hearing from us, and you're going to be hearing from God, because that's the kind of God we serve.
Absolutely.
So all I'm saying, regardless of how tough you feel, every day, keep her in your prayers, keep her in your love. The holiday season is coming up. Have family members reach out to her, have people invite her, regardless. A no just means that a yes is around the horizon.
Right.
Okay, that's all a no means. Okay, you just keep being the strong, amazing mom that you are.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all so much.
Yes, and not really much else to say after Dr. Forrester literally just again encompassed everything through this episode. So as we all just kind of mentioned, that God got you, and God has all of us, and we're going to continue to pray and continue to do the good work, and just as his word says, everything will work out.
I thank y'all for being an ear, and I thank y'all for this team that y'all have here. I appreciate it so much.
Right. I mean, I'm really kind of speechless right now, because Miss Tina, my heart just goes out to you so much. it kind of just threw me off course of anything that I could really say right now. Because all I can think of is like having my daughter out in the world and not really knowing what's happening and how I can help her. So I'm so glad that everyone kind of echoed the sentiment that you're not alone and there are other ways that we can help. We may not be able to go grab her from where she is, which is what I'm sure we'd all want to do, but we can support you in other ways. So again, it kind of just brought home some of the things that I've been saying, like the potential risk factors of how someone kind of gets into this type of lifestyle and why it becomes for them an artificially attractive alternative. And sometimes they may believe that they're owed this, like I'm owed this, whether it's the fast money or the fast life or the people who they will meet who will promise them the world because they have been hurt at some point in their lives. They believe they're owed to have this as their good life. But it all comes back to the love that you gave your daughter, Miss Tina. And for all these moms, I'm speaking to myself as well. We cannot write their path. We can guide them on part of it, but then we know they go their own journey. But I think that if you did give her the love that I know you did, at some point she'll realize that there will be nothing else like that in the world that will rival the pure and true love that you as her mom gave to her. And that whatever she's seeking, whether it's the love from her dad or whatever the case may be, that she's not going to find it in the places that she's tapping into right now. We always pray that she will learn that, right, before, obviously something goes past where we want it to go, and that she remains safe and that she has, the street smarts and the sense to know when she's in dangerous situations and that God will cover her. But again, just the outreach that you can also have, Miss Tina, with other parents, right? The things you're going through and how you can potentially help other parents, even starting to get yourself involved in things to become a support for other parents in terms of talking about your experience, because obviously people are going through this and they're not talking about it.
Right.
They're either ashamed, right? Or they don't know who they can go to, who they can talk to. But I think that we help ourselves most. And this is something my parents used to say, you help yourself when you help other people. And so, this might be the start for you of just being able to, even if you identify things, whether it's in your own family members or the friends of your children or things like that, and trying to, kind of reach out and just help other people as you're trying to help your daughter. Again, this is something that we're all going to either deal with, whether it's in our family members or friends, or because it is so far reaching. I have seen young ladies come from the top and richest of families who have dealt with this. And so, of course, our population, our children are obviously going to be higher risk. And as we go into the holidays, just remember this, every business that can make money will make money during this time of year. So again, as kids and teenagers are seeking to, purchase things and want things, and there will be people trying to slip into DMs and find ways to woo them and fulfill a need. Remember, that's the core of this, an unmet need. So whether it's money, someone who's lonely for the holidays, their parents are working, oh, well, would you want a friend or someone who can celebrate the holidays? I mean, there's so many avenues that children can be wooed, and adults, by the way. So just keep the people who you love close to you, talk to them, bring up these topics, make sure you're sharing all the information that you're learning with them. And again, we'll continue to be a resource and support for everyone here.
Thank you for joining us for the ENT Youth Services Podcast. We hope you were able to be empowered, nurtured, and transformed by our conversations today. If you want to learn more on this topic, head over to entyouth.com for additional resources and stay connected with us via our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you liked this podcast, we would appreciate a 5-star rating to help us get these episodes out to the people who need it most.